Hello everyone, and welcome to Mr. Simplifies tutorials. In this video we're going to look at a terminology or a concept that you'd have heard your managers speak about or your top executives discuss about, which is lean production or lean methodology. We're going to look at the concept, and we're going to look at a couple of types of lean production methods. Firstly, what is lean? So the word lean itself means no excess. For instance, if we look at the fitness industry as an example, lean bodies are bodies with great muscle definition and very low fat. So you see these fitness models and you think that they're lean. So that's what it implies. And what does lean production actually mean? Lean production is a management approach for cutting out waste whilst increasing efficiency and quality. And why is there such a focus on waste, you ask? Because waste is a liability, or basically a cost to the business. Just as we looked at the example in the fitness industry, just like excess fat would be a liability for supermodels. So if we look at a graphic to represent lean production, it simply is an increase in quality and efficiency with costs going down. So it is a very simple concept, very easy to understand. It's all about implementation when it comes to making a lean methodology a success. But to begin with, let's look at some types of waste. What do you actually want to reduce as an organization? There are various categories of waste. We look at some of them, like defects, overproduction, waiting, non-utilized talent, transportation, inventory, motion, or extra processing. So defects basically implies broken parts, applications developed with bugs in the software industry, etc. Overproduction is essentially supply in excess of demand. You're producing more than what's necessary. It can also imply more prints than what is necessary. It just depends on what context you're going to apply it towards. Waiting could mean waiting for parts or for suppliers to revert back to you, or waiting for approvals internally. Non-utilized talent can mean untrained employees or managers and employees unsuitable for certain tasks but still performing them. Transportation can mean unnecessary movement of information or resources. Inventory, too many spare parts than necessary. Or it could even mean storing too much data, which is very relevant in this day and age with a lot of different types of organizations that handle a lot of data. Motion, movement that's not a value add to the customer is how I'll define it. Like for instance, it can also mean changing your internal softwares too often. It's not actually contributing towards a better experience to the end customer, but you're doing it. Extra processing could mean excess details, which could confuse the customer. This could mean putting too much information on your product pages, or it could also mean having too many internal processes. So these are some of the wastes. And interestingly enough, if you actually highlight the first alphabet in each of these words, you get the word downtime. So that's a good way of actually memorizing these waste types. And it is recommended in view of an examination that you do actually remember most of these waste types. So with having looked at wastes, we can now look at the definition and actually fine-tune it to say lean production is actually a way to identify and reduce various types of waste, as much waste as possible, and improving efficiency by developing a process of continuous improvement. And it goes without saying that it's a long-term plan. This can't be achieved overnight. The larger the organization, the more tedious and the more long-term the process becomes. Now let's look at some important methods of lean production. There are various methods. We're just going to look at some of the most popular methods, some very important methods. Just-in-time production. This is probably the most important method of lean production and the most popular. Kaizen, which also means continuous improvement, cell production, and time-based management. Let's look at each one of these in a bit more detail. So JIT, what does just-in-time actually mean? This method actually aims at ensuring that inputs into the process, into the production process, arrive only when they're needed. So it's quite obvious to see that this sort of an approach would require extremely complex scheduling and very efficient project management. It's simply not easy to actually imagine a situation where all of your supplies are coming in only when it's necessary, but you can obviously envision the benefits of it. Quite obvious. Supplies are very quickly delivered, but only when necessary. So what this does require is reliability in terms of suppliers. What it means in terms of the benefit is that less capital is tied up in terms of stock. So you don't actually stock up things which aren't necessary, but there's obviously a risk that there's a very high reliance on the reliability of suppliers. And who uses just-in-time? There are companies like Toyota, Dell, and Harley-Davidson that use just-in-time, and very famously so. Now we move on to Kaizen, which is continuous improvement in Japanese. So this method aims at introducing small but incremental changes to improve efficiency. And how are these changes introduced? Well, the ideas for improvement firstly come in from employees themselves. So the employees who are actually involved in a particular production process or a project will actually be expected to come up with these improvements. What this does mean is that there is an assured buy-in from these employees, because it's them bringing in these efficiencies, bringing in these recommendations, and then they also take ownership. And then the major positive aspect, the major advantage of using this is that by making small changes, the capital investment required is very low normally. And who uses Kaizen? Toyota again, Ford, Nestle, and as you see, a company as massive and as production heavy as Toyota would obviously use multiple lean methodologies to actually improve their efficiency and reduce waste. Now we look at time-based management. This method aims at reducing production times and reducing wastage of time. So the entire emphasis is on time in this methodology. So how do we actually achieve it? Flexible production methods. And flexible production methods then ensure that different products can be produced with minimal wastage of time. And there is also an added advantage that you get multi-skilled staff, beg your pardon, and these members of staff don't sit around and wait for their time to perform certain tasks. They actually move on from one task to the other very rapidly and therefore save a lot of time. So the entire emphasis here is on time and in ensuring that you get the right mix of people for the project who are multi-skilled and can perform various different types of tasks at the same time. Now we move on to cell production. In this method, production processes are actually, or manufacturing actually, split into cells, with each cell managing a full aspect of production or the project. So what that actually means is that a unit takes on full ownership of a particular part of the production, manufacturing, or the project process, as you'd say. It ensures great collaboration, as you'd obviously understand, that people within a cell are united and they come up with ideas, they work together, and they take ownership of the ideas and the output they produce. It's great for employee motivation and team building. And in the process, the employees within a cell can also become multi-skilled, because they're actually working so well within themselves that they're actually picking up various other skills in the process. So as you've seen now in this video, It is a very simple concept, but it is something that is very challenging for companies to implement, and it's a slow and gradual process, and it is a process of continual improvement essentially. Okay, I hope that was beneficial for you, a good introduction and a simplified version of lean production methods. And as always, if you like this content, press the like button, subscribe and support this video, share the content for more regular content on this channel. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye.